What's poppin', people? It's Eric Joe back with another Magic the Gathering video, and today we are looking at the final video of the Core Set 2021 limited set review. Today we're going to look at the rest of the cards, so multicolored, colorless, artifact, and lands. So yeah, let's get cracking. So the first card is Alpine Houndmaster. It's red and a white for a 2/2 human warrior at uncommon. When Alpine Houndmaster enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named Alpine Watchdog and or a card named Igneous Cur. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Whenever Alpine Houndmaster attacks, it gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. So this, at base level, it's a 2-mana 2/2, which is fine. But then it searches up to 2 other cards out of your deck into your hand, which in limited, I think that's awesome. It's actually, you can play a constructed deck with it too, probably. I've actually seen CGB Covert Go Blue do a video around this card, and it was, just like an aggro deck, but it was interesting. So, and it won a couple games and wasn't bad. By limited, I mean drawing 2 cards, 2 creatures out of your deck is not bad. And did I read the other part? Whenever attacks gets +X+0 to determine X is the number of other attacking creatures. Did I even read that? I don't even know. But so on its own, it can attack for a lot and draws you 2 cards. So I think it's a solid build around. And you can go the dogs, or you can just build a red-white aggro deck, and you'll be pretty happy with it. So it's like a B plus. Hopefully you have one of each of the other dogs. If you don't have any of them, then it's still okay, but I'd really try to draft at least one of the other ones. So yeah, B plus. Next up, we got Conclave Mentor for a green and a white. It's a Centaur Cleric at uncommon. It's a 2/2. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, put that many +1/+1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. And when Conclave Mentor dies, you gain life equal to its power. So another signpost uncommon. Actually, all the 2-colored ones are signpost, or the 2-colored uncommons are the signpost uncommons. So they just kind of hint at how you should build the deck. Yeah, this is just a solid 2-drop. When it dies, you gain life, that's fine, but with the counter synergy, it just gets really good. So if you're in the green-white deck, you definitely want as many of these as you can get. Hopefully you have at least one, and hopefully 2 or more. So you definitely want to pick these up. It's like a B plus in that deck. Definitely you can first pick it. And yeah, I mean, even if you're not going hard at counters, you probably have a few in green and white, and it's not hard to end up with a few of those. So yeah, pick up a few of those, a few of these for that deck. I've done it, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, B plus for that one. Next up, we got Direfleet Warmonger. It's for 1 black-red, it's an Orc Pirate at uncommon, it's a 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, it gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. So yeah, it's a 3-mana 3/3 by itself, so that's already great. And you can sack a creature, which signpost uncommon for black and red is stealing your opponent's creatures and then sacrificing them. So if you can steal a creature, this gives you a free sack outlet every turn, and it gets bigger and gets trample. So a 3-mana 5/5 trample is really good. So again, this is just a B plus. But yeah, it's like a B plus in the sacrifice deck. So hopefully you're in that deck, or you can just play it as a 3-mana 3/3 and be pretty happy about it. So there's that. Next up, we got Experimental Overload for 2 blue-red is a sorcery at uncommon. Create an XX blue and red weird creature token, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Then you may return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Experimental Overload. I think this is the only non-creature signpost that uncommon, but hey, it makes a creature, so it might as well be a creature. So it makes a reasonably a 2/2 to a 5/5 maybe or something in your blue-red spells deck. So I would say if you're in blue and red, you want to be heavy spells. So hopefully 5 to 10 or something spells. And then this is a great payoff for that. So in that deck, this is definitely like a B+, but if you're not heavy spells, it's kind of not very good. I'd say it's like a C or C-. So yeah, hopefully you're heavy spells when you pick one of these. Next up, we got Indulging Patrician for 1 white-black. It's a Vampire Noble at uncommon. It's a 1/4, has flying, lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. So solid payoff for the life gain deck. Unfortunately, it can't trigger itself just on its own by attacking, but it gets you, a third of the way there. Yeah, in black and white, you probably have a few creatures with lifelink or just other ways to gain life. Be nice to trigger this every turn, but even if you can, it's a solid blocker. It blocks a lot of stuff, 3 power or less, and survives, so not bad. And I think in the life gain deck, it's like a B- or B. That's a solid payoff. I don't think it's as good as the ones we've covered so far, but just it's decent. So I give it a B- or B. Next up, we got Leafkin Avenger for 2 red green. It's an elemental druid at uncommon. It's a 4/3. Has tap, add a green for each creature you control with power 4 or greater, and you can pay 7 and a red. And Leafkin Avenger deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. So it can generate mana, and it gives you a place to put that mana. So yeah, this is the signpost uncommon for Gruul, and hopefully you got a few creatures with power 4 or greater, which this will generate on its own. It generates 1, but if you got a few other 4 power stuff, then it generates even more, and then it lets you spend that mana, which is sweet. This could even be a 1 condition if the game goes long, but hopefully if you're playing big fatties, like you're swinging in for the win anyway. Yeah, it's a big body and it's a mana dork, so it slices the dices. It's just a solid B+. Next up, we got Lore Skill Quaddle. It's 1 a green and a blue for a snake at uncommon. It's a 2/2. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on Lore Skill Quaddle. So this card just gets enormous, and if they don't deal with it quickly, it can be huge and just completely out of control to the point where they need to chump block it every turn or they just die. I really like this one. It's definitely at least a B+, maybe even an A-. Fortunate that it only starts out as a 2/2, but the next turn when it can attack, it's a 3/3. So essentially it's a 3/3 for 3 when it can attack. Yeah, it's just a solid payoff for the green-blue draw cards deck. So look out for this one. Try to take as many of these as you get. You want at least 1 in that deck. And yeah, it's just a B+. So it's a solid card. It's one of my favorite cards in the set, and I'm pretty sure it's a reprint too. Next up, this one is not actually a signpost uncommon. It's a rare, so one of the few multicolored cards that aren't the uncommon signpost ones. So we got Nyambi Esteemed Speaker for a white and a blue. It's a legendary creature, human cleric at rare. It's a 2/1, has flash, and when Nyambi Esteemed Speaker enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's converted mana cost. And for a 1 white and a blue, you can tap it, discard a legendary card to draw 2 cards. So I don't know how often you're going to be triggering the final ability. Legendary creatures and cards are generally the best cards in your deck. So, I mean, maybe if you really need that answer, you could use it to discard a Azusa or something or whatever, and get a remove a spell or something. So this can save your creature and even gain you life, so that's pretty nice. Hopefully you're getting a card with a value out of that, like the creature you bounce has an enter the battlefield effect or something. But you could first pick this. I wouldn't be too happy about it. Hopefully you're already blue-white by the time you find this, so it's like a B minus first pick. It's like you're really not happy about it being your first pick, but it's probably more of a constructed card, to be honest, but could play it unlimited and could save your creature. It doesn't, it's only 2 mana, so you could do worse for sure. So it's like a B minus. Next up, we got Obsessive Stitcher for 1 blue-black human wizard at uncommon. It's a 0/3. Says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Or for 2 blue-black, tap it, sacrifice it, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is obviously trying to make you want to do reanimator shenanigans. Kind of cool. It's like the entire strategy in one package. You can discard your reanimation target and then bring it back the next turn with its second ability. So it curves into its second ability, which is nice. It's 3 mana to play it, then 4 mana to activate, which is nice. In Limited, I ran into a really annoying deck featuring 2 of these, and it kept getting them back with different methods and spells, and super annoying. So I wish it had at least 1 power. I don't think that would break it, but really, you want to be in the blue-black reanimator deck if you play these. So it's like a B. I wish it had any power whatsoever, but it doesn't, so it's not a great blocker on turn 3, but I don't know, you could do worse. So yeah, it's like a B, and if it had a power, I'd probably give it a B+, but it doesn't, so B. Next up, it's another rare that's not a signpost uncommon, so we got Rada, Heart of Keld for 1 red-green. It's a legendary creature, elf warrior. At rare, it's a 3/3. As long as it's your turn, Rada, Heart of Keld has first strike, and you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play lands from the top of your library. So for 4 red-green, Rada gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. So I think Rada is definitely like a solid first pick, which you want to launch right into the red-green, large power stuff. But this wants you to go into like a lands direction, which is interesting. But if you have 6 mana sitting around, you can do a lot worse than pumping this huge. And it has first strike, so it'll pretty much kill anything. Plus the threat of activation makes it really scary to block. Plus it has like a card advantage engine stapled onto it with, you can play lands from the top of your deck. So this is like the only situation where you might want to take Azusa so you can play multiple lands. They're kind of BFFs for sure. So yeah, I mean, Rada is just a solid, I'd even give it an A. It's just really good. So definitely try to first pick it if you can. Next up, we got Sanctum of All for white, blue, black, red, green, Uberg. It's a legendary enchantment shrine. At rare, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library, enter a graveyard for a shrine card, put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If an ability of another shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. So they really did it. They made a 5-color shrine. The shrine's like you want to probably play 5 colors if you are in the shrines deck, to play as many shrines as possible. But this is just really, it's so much work and so much has to go right during the draft for you to be able to want to play Sanctum of All. I would really try to stay away from this, with the caveat that if you make it work, it's really going to be glorious. So I might want to try it once in a long while, but for the most part, I'm going to be I'm going to be passing this pick one. So if you're in the same draft as me, you could be for sure try to pick this and make it work. So, I mean, hopefully you have 4 shrines at least if you're playing this. And the only shrine that really cares about triggering is the black one. The green one, you can make a ton of mana, I guess. So you get 10 mana for having, or 12 mana for having 6 or more shrines. So this one wants you to have every shrine in the sets out on the battlefield at the same time. But by the time you do that, you might just be dead. So good luck. It's an F, with the caveat that I want to see somebody make it work. Next up, we got Twin Blade Assassins for 3 black, green. It's an elf assassin at uncommon. It's a 5/4. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, draw a card. So signpost uncommon for Golgari, black, green. And, it's a good one. It's a 5/4 for 5, which is really good stats. And then it has a card draw engine on it. So if this attacks and then kills a creature, I mean, you get to draw a card, which is sweet. And then if anything dies, like, in any way, like, you just draw a card anyway. So, yeah, it's pretty good. It's like a B. I don't think it'd be unreasonable for this to cost 4 mana in 2 colors. So, if it costs 4 mana, it'd be definitely an A or a B plus, but it's just a B at 5 mana. So, I mean, you'll probably get to 5 mana in limited, but not always. So, yeah, B for Twin Blade Assassins. And for the last multicolored card is Watcher of the Spheres for white and a blue. It's a bird wizard at uncommon. It's a 2/2, has flying. It says creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever another creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, Watcher of the Spheres gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I wish this was Watcher of the Skies, because I caught that anyways. Yeah, Flying Tribal, white-blue, go for it. Pretty good. You probably want one of these in your decks, your flying decks. Pretty good in that deck. It's like a B in that deck. 2 mana, 2/2 flyer, solid, and can get even bigger if you play more flyers. So this wants you to have a lot of flyers in your deck, which wouldn't be hard to do. It's like a B, and go for it. So we're going to move on to the colorless cards, and there's only one, and you guessed it, it's Ugin the Spirit Dragon, only colorless non-artifact card in the set. So Ugin the Spirit Dragon is 8 generic mana for a legendary planeswalker Ugin at Mythic Rare. It's got 7 starting loyalty, +2. Ugin the Spirit Dragon deals 3 damage to any target. -X, exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less that's 1 or more colors. And -10, you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Yeah, Ugin is, I'm debating between A plus and A, because on one hand I want to give it A plus because if you play it you just win, but it's 8 mana, so realistically that might not happen in limited. But if you first picked Ugin, then you're just going to get all the ramp cards anyway, so I don't see it being that difficult to play him. I was able to play him once in Sealed. I was like floored when I saw that he was one of my rares. So I'm like, oh, we're making it happen. But my green was bad, and I'm like, oh man, can this work? So I ended up playing a red-white aggro deck with Ugin at the top end, and I was able to play it 3 out of the 7 games that I played. I went 7-0. Didn't record it, but had a great time. Wish you guys could have seen it. But yeah, even in a red-white aggro deck, I played Ugin, and it was amazing. So definitely play Ugin whenever you get it. Do not pass this card. If you pass it, I don't know what you're doing. It's just a Stone Cold Bomb. It'll come down, kill everything relevant. It can kill up to 6 drops and still survive, which is almost everything. And it can kill 7 drops if you want to suicide it, but you don't even have to minus exit. Like you can, if they have like 2 or 3 creatures, you can +2 and then deal 3 damage to something, and which will kill it, and then yeah, it'll just kill that thing. And then you can just get to the ultimate, which I did too. I +2 twice and then ultimated it, and I played 7 permanents and gained 7 life, drew those 7 cards, and yeah, put those into play, and it was amazing. So Ugin is just insane and limited. I'm gonna give it A+. Like it's, if you resolve it, like you just win. Like what do they do? Like you just wipe their board, and they're just, and you get closer and closer to -10, drawing some, like it's insane. So can even just bolt them every turn and gain 2 loyalty while doing it. It's just crazy. Just take it. It's an A+. So we'll look at the artifacts next. There are a few of those. So we got Chromatic Orrery, number 1. It's a 7-mana legendary artifact at Mythic Rare. You may spend mana, Zoa, or mana of any color, and you can tap it to add 5 colorless mana, which you can spend to Zoa or any color. And then you can pay 5 and tap, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So I don't want to ramp starting on turn 7, because I mean, what do you have in your deck that costs more than 7 mana besides like Ugin? Yeah, I don't know. This is a skip. I would not play this card. Yes, it fixes your mana, so if you're in 5 colors, I guess you'd want this, but don't play 5 colors in draft or seal or anything. That's just irresponsible, and there's hardly any payoffs in this set. So drawing a few cards for 5 mana, you can do better You can do better. So I'd give it enough. I wouldn't play this card. I wouldn't even pick it. Well, you could pick it for value for Commander, but if you're on Arena, I'd just skip it. Next up, we got Chrome Replicator for 5 mana. It's a artifact creature construct at uncommon. It's a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more non-land, non-token permanents with the same name as one another, create a 4/4 colorless construct artifact creature token. So 5 mana for a 4/4 is fine, especially in any color. But if you can get 2 4/4s out of it, then it's insane. So if you try to take this early and then get dubs of everything, get at least 2 of everything, and then try to make that work, because I think it's a pretty good payoff. I wouldn't go crazy with that, but like it's a pretty good payoff. Like just 5 mana for 2 4/4s, like that's a lot of value. So I'd like to make it work. If you don't have a lot of dubs, then it's like a C. And then if you have like 2 or I'd say 3 or 4 like dubs, then it's like a B- even. So B- C for Chrome Replicator. Next up, we got Epitaph Golem. It's 5 mana for an artifact creature golem at uncommon. It's a 3/5. Has the ability pay 2 generic mana, put a card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. So I think this is a reprint. Yeah, it must be, because it's got the like Avacyn Innistrad like statuette there on top of it. Yeah, it could help you from getting milled out. So in the mill matchup, this is like the best card in your deck, because you can just never mill out, which would be nice. But in every other situation, it's just not very efficient. So I mean, it blocks okay, it attacks okay, so you can do worse. It's like a C, and then it's a good sideboard card against mill. So in that situation, it's like a B or B+ out of the sideboard. Next up, we got Forgotten Sentinel. I already forgot about this card. Not great. It's for 4 generic mana. It's an artifact creature golem at common. It's a 4/3. 4/3. Forgotten Sentinel enters the battlefield tapped. So if you need some beef in your deck, you could do worse. Can't block the first turn, but it's okay. It has 4 power for your 4 power matter stuff. And yeah, it's like a C. I like 4 power for 4 mana. That's not bad. So you can do worse for a common. And you can put it in any deck. So there you go. Next up, we got Maze Mind Tome for 2 generic mana. It's an artifact at rare. When it comes down, you can tap it. Oh man, wow. Tap it, put a page counter on Maze Mind Tome, scry 1. Pay 2 and tap it, put a page counter on Maze Mind Tome, and draw a card. And when there are 4 or more page counters on Maze Mind Tome, exile it. If you do, you gain 4 life. So limited, like paying 2 mana just to draw a card, like turn after turn, is a lot of value. But ideally, like you're doing something better with your turn 2, like playing a creature that can attack. But you know, if you don't have anything to do with your spare mana, I mean, drawing a card you could do way worse. I love drawing cards, and you can do it up to 4 times, or you can scry 1 for 2 mana, like when it comes down, which is not bad. So yeah, I think this is like a C in limited. It's probably better in constructed, where it's kind of reminds me of Treasure Map, which scried 3 times and then gave you 3 mana treasures and could stack them to draw a card as a land, which was nice. So this reminds me a lot of that, that was good too, but mostly constructed. So it's like a C in limited, but you can take it for your constructed deck for sure. Next up, we got Meteorite for 5 generic mana. It's an artifact at uncommon. Enters the battlefield. Okay. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So if you really need removal, you could play this, and if you're in like 3 or more colors, then you could play this. You could do, I suppose, worse, but for 5 mana, you want to be playing a good 5-drop, so you really don't want to ramp on turn 5 anyway. So I think it's like a D+. If you really need removal, 5 mana and you only get 2 damage is pretty bad. So yeah, I'd usually skip this, but you know, it could go in like a ramp deck or something. So it's like a D+. Next up, we got Palladium Mirror for 3 mana. It's an artifact creature mirror at uncommon. It's a 2/2. Says tap, add 2 colorless mana. Yeah, this is a reprint. We have mirrors in standard. Nice. So you can put it in ramp decks, and in decks that don't have green, it's decent ramp, but it does die to shock and everything under the sun. So just be aware of that. So it's a 3 mana 2/2, which isn't great, and only adds colorless mana, but it does add 2. So it takes you from 3 mana to 4, then 5, 6, so 6 mana on the next turn. So if you hit all your land drops, so that, you know, if you have good 6 drops, you could put it in your deck. So try to be a ramp deck if you want to play this. So I think it ends up being like a C all told. Next up, we got Prismite for 2 generic mana. It's an artifact creature golem at common. It's a 2/1. Says pay 2 and add 1 mana of any color. I forgot this was even in the set. That's how kind of inconsequential it is. If you really need fixing, like if you're in a 4-color deck or something, you could play this. But turning your 2 mana into 1, you gotta be really desperate for your fixing. Hopefully you can pick up some better fixing than this, for sure. This is like a D+, and only played if you are in multiple colors and really need fixing. Next up, we got Short Sword for a mana. It's an artifact equipment at common. Equip creature gets +1/+1. It's equip for 1. So I really want my cards unlimited to be more impactful than +1/+1. So this is like a D+. Yeah, I'd usually just skip Short Sword, but you know, it could give a little boost, which is not bad, and it doesn't ask very much of you. But you want your cards unlimited to do a little more than this. So yeah, I give it. They say D+. I'd probably just give this a D. Next up, we got Silent Dart for 1 in generic mana. It's an artifact at common. Pay 4 and tap it. Sacrifice Silent Dart. It deals 3 damage to target creature. This is pretty bad. Like, it's 5 mana to do 3 damage. But you can play it turn 1, and then by turn 4 you can bolt something for 4 mana. Not great. There's definitely better sources of removal. So this is like it's like a D. Next up, we got Sky Scanner for 3 generic mana. It's a artifact creature Thopter at common. It has flying. It's a 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So yes, I jam as many of these into my decks as I can, even though it's probably irresponsible. It's a C, honestly, but I mean, there's a draw cards deck out there, archetype blue-green, that would love this card, and counter decks, it's an evasive body, so you could put counters on it and feel okay about it, but it dies to, everything under the sun, so just be aware of that. And it's like a C, but I do love me a Sky Scanner or two. Next up we got, so C for Sky Scanner. Next up we got Solemn Simulacrum for 4 mana. It's an artifact creature golem at rare. It's a 2/2. When Solemn Simulacrum enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. When Solemn Simulacrum dies, you may draw a card. So I would just take as many of these you can get for Commander, because they go in virtually every Commander deck that's not green, but even in green decks you might want it for the land synergy and whatever. But you're happy to play as many of these as you can. You can first pick this since it's colorless and it goes in any deck. Hopefully you want to ramp a little, but it just fixes, it ramps, slices, dices, gives you a foot rub, and you can just block it. You can cash it in for a card, so that's not bad. It's just solid. It's like a C+, and you could first pick it, so maybe it's a B-, but it's not going to win you the game, but it does help out. Next up, we got Spark Hunter Masticore for 3 generic mana. It's an artifact creature, Masticore at rare. It's a 3/4. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card. Protection from Planeswalkers, which I think they said is a unique protection. It says for 1 generic mana, Spark Hunter Masticore deals 1 damage to target Planeswalker. And for 3 generic mana, Spark Hunter Masticore gains indestructible until end of turn. So 3 mana for a 3/4 is good. But discarding a card really sucks. This is really more of a constructed card. It could be good in limited because it can protect itself, although it's pretty pricey for that ability. 3 mana to protect it. Not great, but it is a mana sink, and they're going to be sad when you play this against their Planeswalker, which once in a blue moon might happen. I actually played a deck where the guy had a Teferi and a Garruk. Yeah, I lost that game. But I went like 6-3. I hope that guy went 7-0, because that was insane. Although all he did with Teferi was phase out one of my creatures 1 turn. Which I don't know why I didn't wait till my turn. Anyway. So yeah, you might want to sideboard this. Well, no, you can main deck this. You can put it in any deck really. So if they have a Planeswalker, definitely side it in. But it could serve as a beater and a resilient one at that. So that's not bad. So it's like a B-, I would say. Next up, we got Tormod's Crypt for 0 mana. It's an artifact at uncommon. It says, tap, sacrifice Tormod's Crypt, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. So, it's the graveyard hate of the set. Probably the best, graveyard hate-centric cards that's ever been printed, really. 0 mana. You can't really beat that, so yeah, I just side this in against graveyard decks, but I would not main deck it. So out of the sideboard, it's like a C+, and it's really good against the graveyard deck, and don't main deck this. I would probably stay away from it, best of 1, but best of 3, sideboard in against them graveyard decks, like I just said 3 times. So now let's check out the lands. just a few things I want to talk about. So the first land we're going to look at is Animal Sanctuary. It's a land at rare. It says tap, add a colorless, or pay 2 generic mana and tap it. Put a +1/+1 counter on target bird, cat, dog, goat, ox, or snake. So hopefully you have a few of these creature types in your deck. There's a lot of cats and dogs, and there's a snake or two, I think. Lorskill, but paying 2 or essentially 3 mana to put a 1/1 counter, you probably want to play a spell, but it is a mana sink if you got the right creature type, so that's nice. But in limited, you want to have as many colored sources as possible, so if you have a lot of the creature types, then it's like a C-, and then if you have like 1 or 2, it's like a D. So, okay, and then we have the cycle of common dual lands, and they're the gain lands. So you want to, ideally you have 1 at least in your colors, 2 colors, or you can take an off-color one and splash, which would be nice. Those are really good for that. There's 10 of those. There's 1 in each color pair, obviously. In the middle here we have Fabled Passage, which is a land at rare. It says tap, sacrifice the Fabled Passage, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Then if you control 4 or more lands, untap that land. It's just like Evolving Wilds with upside, so it's like a C, it's solid fixing. I really wouldn't first pick it, but if you want to splash, it's really good to have. Anyway, with the excuse me, with the dual lands, they're like a C plus in your if you have the right colors, and they'll let you splash, so that's not bad. And then we have Radiant Fountain. We have when it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, and you can tap it for a colorless. So if you're in the life gain deck, this is pretty good. Otherwise, it's a colorless land that just gains you 2 life, so you could probably do better. If you're in the game life deck, I might play 1, but otherwise I'd stay away from it. So it's like a D. So here's more gain lands, and then we have the enemy colored temples. So we have Temple Epiphany, Malady, Mystery, Silence, and Triumph. So they enter the battlefield tapped, and when they enter the battlefield, you scry 1, and they tap for either of the enemy colors. Yeah, they're pretty good. You could even, hopefully you're in both of the colors, but you could even put it in your deck if you're just one of the colors to get a free scry. So, well, not even free, it comes in tapped, but it's like a tapped mountain that scries you 1. So scry 1's pretty good and limited. It can filter things you don't need off the top of your deck. So yeah, I would say they're like C plus if you're in the right colors. But I would not first pick these though, because you don't know what colors you're in yet at the beginning. So, but definitely take them if you're in their colors, but don't take good cards that do stuff over them. The red white one is probably the worst because you want to play like a 1-drop usually and curve out in aggro decks. But here's the rest of the dual lands, the gain lands. Yep, there's 1 in each color pair, enemy and allied. And then we have the basic lands. And basic lands are like a C, you want some of them in your deck. Oh, you're going to play all of them. This is pretty cool. It's all pretty cool art. They do a good job with the basic lands. Okay, so that's every single card in Core Set 2021. I hope you guys had fun listening to me ramble about different cards. So I'll end with Ugin because Ugin's amazing and it's one of my favorite cards in the set and probably way too overpowered for limited. So, alright, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.